I know I'm live, but something's messed up. My docs are all gone. Where's my docs? What's going on here? Hold on a second, people. I don't know if this is going to stop my stream or not, but I need to check something out. All right, I guess I'm streaming. I updated my software, and of course, when I launch it, I can't see any of my tabs because you know how I roll. You know how I roll. Is it fucking live? Is it fucking live? Let me just check. If I'm live. Look, I'm like the worst at, like, I will try the new shiny shit as soon as it comes out. Of course, I do it. Yeah, I'm live. Cool. Hopefully you can hear me. All right, listen. If you can hear me, I don't even have comments up. This whole thing looks different because I downloaded the latest and greatest. It's a weakness, all right? It's not a strength. But anyway, good evening, everyone. My name's Nate. You know the deal. It's Nightcap. And tonight, I'm kind of going to wing it. I've been winging it all week just because I'm kind of making sure I check off the box that says that I did this, as well as, wait, let me make sure. All right. Got to make sure I have the right thing. Whew. I want to check off a box to make sure. There's a little bit echo there, isn't there? Holy shit. I want to check off a box to make sure that I do this, and also that I don't miss a night. So for whatever reason, I've got an echo now that probably has to do with the new software as well. Whatever. It is what it is. Let me turn off the, hold on, maybe it's this thing. It's a weird echo in my ear. There, it's better. I think it's better. All right, cool. So, no, it's still there. Whatever. Whatever, world. Hold on. Let me just change something here. World. All right. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, though, was I got some things in my inbox that I thought was interesting. A gentleman sent me an article, and the article talked about, I'll just pull up the article here on my phone because I don't have it set up, but it was conspiracy theorist harasses Nevada governor and Asian wife at restaurant with racist threats. And then there's a video of it, and essentially what happened was the governor's out to eat, and he's with his wife, and his wife is of Chinese descent, and they were harassed. And so they were harassed by some conspiracy theorists, and sound go. Where'd my sound go? There it went. My word. Wait a second. That's the wrong mic, isn't it? There, that's working. Interesting. What a fucking joke. Anyway. So you're like, what the hell, dude? So yeah, it's just weird. There's like this weird echo in my ear, and it's really just kind of distracting, but I'm going to power through it. So this Democrat that's running for re-election, he said in a statement that him and his wife, who's of Chinese heritage, was subject to what he described as racist threats during the encounter on Sunday. And let me just make sure everything's off. Why is it coming out of that one? It's almost. Huh. That's bizarre. It's like everything I say is like backing, like it's like an echo. It's totally distracting. But I'm not going to be long tonight because I want to make this point. But essentially, what happened was he was out and about, and he was kind of confronted at dinner, and they were attacking him, and they were essentially making up things. They said that he was working for China. It was all kinds of conspiracy things. And so tonight, I just wanted to talk about that because I am pro harassing your public officials when they're out. And when I say harassing, I mean asking them questions, making them uncomfortable, and especially when they haven't, when they're doing things that we don't approve of. This is a public place, and if they're going to go out in a public, I just feel like you're a public official. I do believe in people should have private lives. But I also believe that there's a time and a place for it. And sometimes you need to, if you get that opportunity where you want to say something respectfully as much as possible and not causing a scene, I think that's reasonable. And so there's 2 points. There's a couple points I want to make on this. And that is, I am pro publicly, talking to or asking questions of our elected officials. I will give you a personal example. I ran into Justin Wolgemuth, who is a public official elected to the school board of Hempfield, and he was a former classmate of mine as well from high school. And I really confronted him on like, what the fuck, Justin? You're running on this CRT platform. What is that? He's, he made claims that he didn't understand, he didn't know, and did the Tucker Carlson deer in the headlights thing. And then I put him on the spot. He was all by himself, and it was just me and him and the bartender. And the bartender kind of just let me go. I kept on apologizing to her. She's like, "Oh no, you're good." So it seemed that she wasn't, it wasn't causing a ruckus in the restaurant. It wasn't causing any kind of kerfluffle where people were uncomfortable. The only person that was uncomfortable was Justin. And so I felt like there's a good example of a way to do it where it's kind of a private. Now you can't always get people one-on-one, and of course I had a prior relationship with Justin, a friendship with Justin. So it was different, but I'm a fan of that. And look, if I ever in whatever crazy religious deity's name, I would run for re-election and I would get through the vetting, and they would look at my background and say, yeah, we're okay with all that crazy shit, and I was elected, I'm basically saying, like, I would expect that people aren't going to like everything I do, and I would expect that people aren't going to try to harm me. I would expect people aren't going to try to hurt my family, but I would expect that if I went out that maybe people might heckle me or so forth. But I think, again, there's the context of how you're doing it, and there's certainly the content of what you're saying. In this case, the gentleman and his friend proceeded to kind of come out with these right-wing, weird-ass, conspiracies about China and being owned by China, and then, then proceeded to, use derogatory, terms for his wife. And so way over the line. I'm not pro that at all. I don't think that's okay. I think that's fucked up. And let me just see if I'm just scared somebody's going to message me and say, your sounds awful. It probably is. We're going to get through it anyway. So look, this is going to happen, right? You're going to have outbursts. They always go viral when you have somebody calling out somebody that's in public office. It always goes that way. But that's interesting. It's just so weird. It's so fucking annoying hearing myself twice, okay? Once is enough. Anyway, I'm just gonna, it's like a psychological game right now I'm playing with talking and also hearing myself echo. It's fucking crazy. But I can do it. I can power through, I think. So my point is that, I am pro that kind of engagement, except for the slander, except for the fucking bullshit conspiracy shit. If you're going to call somebody out for voting on a specific bill, or call out, like if I saw Lloyd Smucker, I did see Lloyd Smucker. I think it was before he decided to nullify our votes for the election, but I had seen him out, and he came up. He actually was standing behind me, and he came up, and I was with a former partner of mine, and I looked at him and I was like, oh God, there's Lloyd. And he's like, I said, hey Lloyd. And I started talking to him, and I engaged. It wasn't appropriate for me though, at that moment, to call him out. He was trying to pay for his drinks. He was by himself. There were people around, and I didn't feel like that was the opportunity that to kind of go at him. But he did talk about my Twitter engagement with him, and he was like, oh yeah, Twitter, blah, blah. And we kind of, cordially joked about my harassment online. And so, again, I would love to have a more vociferous or kind of heated conversation with him. But I certainly would try to choose the right context to do that, because I think that's kind of key. You need to make sure they're heard, and of course, if he's walking out with his coffee or something, maybe you can yell something at him. I don't care. I'm not anti that. I'm anti-violence against those folks. I'm also anti kind of coming at them with some kind of slander, because I don't think I don't think slandering them in public is going to, especially using derogatory terms or racist terms, is effective. And I don't think that's the way you would talk to anybody. So I would yell at them and talk to them as if they was in their office, and I would hold them out. And that's what I did with Justin. I was pretty harsh on him. I said, dude, I I wasn't yelling and screaming at him, but I certainly made him so uncomfortable that he came back to my table later and was kind of on his knees while I sat there. I was with three other people, and he sat there and tried to kind of win me over with some bullshit, which I found was total bullshit, the next day when I kind of did some research on it. So I had sent him some messages on his phone. I didn't tell him who I was. I mean, it wasn't harassment. I was like, look, man, why the fuck are you doing this? He's like, who is this? I didn't identify myself. But when I saw him, then he was like, was that you? I'm like, yeah, it was me. So it was kind of stealthy, but it wasn't, there was no public embarrassment for him. I wasn't slandering his family. I did kind of come at him a little personally on the text message. But I'm all about that. What I'm not all about is this fucking shit. And what we're dealing with right now is we have a lot of folks. You saw the outburst from the crazy woman. She's kind of semi-attractive looking woman. I don't even know her, Lois Bobart or something like that. And I'm only using the description of her looks because she's younger and she's one of the few younger women in the GOP. And so, she seems like a nice person, I guess. I probably shouldn't use that description, but she does look semi-attractive comparatively. And again, that's not a way. I would say the same thing about a man, by the way. Good-looking dude. There's a bunch of good-looking GOP people, so don't call me sexist. But anyway, she yelled and screamed during the State of the Union. And again, it's one thing to say something, but if you're going to say something, make it true, especially if it's in a public forum like that. And so she made the statement that it's Joe Biden's fault that 13 people died. And, right when he was talking about, his son being a veteran and dying as well. So when I read this article and it was sent to me, the first thing I thought of was like, I don't care that people are out there doing that. What I care about is when people are doing it and they're not being truthful, and they're also doing it to, they're basically, kind of using it as a bully, as a bullying, coin or whatever, like some way to bully this person. I don't think that's appropriate. God, this is fucking hard. This is like I don't know. This is like the Holocaust, man. Just kidding. That's not even funny actually, but I was making a reference to the fact that, every time you have a struggle, the right wing likes to say it's like the Holocaust. But the truth is, like, I think that there's, I mentioned this in one of my previous podcasts where I was talking about the fact that, it's important for us to make sure and hold these folks accountable. I believe also there's another blog post on smashtheparty.com talking about privacy and how I believe it's completely okay for people to have private life separate from their public life, and it's not necessarily any of our business. So, this is where I'm going to get into the nuance thing. There's some nuance here. And I'm saying, like, in one hand, I'm saying, hey, look, people have a right to privacy even if they're a public official. On the other hand, I'm saying it's okay to, in public, come at them and kind of call them out on their shit. And that's true. I think both those things can be true. Again, it's nuanced. You can obviously make a meme that says, oh, Nate's conflicting fucking ideas in 3 seconds. But the truth is, they're two different things. One thing is, like, if, as I said before, I wouldn't give a shit about Donald Trump's sex life if it wasn't to the fact that he used that money that you guys were sending him for his campaign. He used that money to then pay off the porn stars. So that was where the conflict came. The fact that he was fucking porn stars, it's not my, it might not align with the party of family values, but it's certainly, maybe if I turn that fucking thing down, it might not, then I can't hear shit. It might not align with the party of family values, but what it does do is that's a little better. Holy shit. Did I fix it? Wow. I think I fixed it. But it does, no, I didn't. But it does, it might not align with the party of family values, but it's certainly his prerogative to do those things in private. And so, again, this is nuance, and this show that I'm trying to build and create and want to get out into the mainstream and kind of get my voice out in the public, it's going to be full of nuance, and you're going to have people that are going to come at it and attack it at some point to say that I'm conflicting. But the truth is, privacy is acceptable, but it also, if you come out in public, it's also acceptable, in my opinion, to call you out. Now, again, if you're disrupting a restaurant, their normal business, then it's problematic. If you're not being disruptive and you're being respectful, for instance, let's say you went over to his table and said, hey, excuse me, I want to say something to you, and then your buddy films it, fine. And you say your piece and you leave. Of course, he can say, you know what, you might be invading his privacy, but he's in a public space, and I'm okay with that. Or she, I'm okay with that. I also think that, if you're doing it with content that's relevant and you're talking about something that they may have voted on an issue that you didn't like, or they may have, they've done something you didn't like, it's okay to say that, but you can't make things up, and you have to be solid when you do that, because if you're going to try to go viral with filming a public official, the shaming of a public official, at least make yourself, at least be truthful. And so another point that's made in the article that I was reading is that this gentleman's a blogger. He's doing something similar to what I'm doing. He's trying to put his voice out there in the ether. And of course, this is now a launching pad for him, because now he's getting all this publicity, and he's standing by his words. And in fact, when they went to do an interview for follow-up, he had analogous to Smashing the Party. I don't even remember what the name of the blog is. I'm not going to give him any props on here, but he had a logo and a picture of his blog, and he was kind of advertising his blog. And so that's another thing that's frustrating to me, is that maybe I'm not being creative enough, but maybe I just don't want to be opportunistic when it comes to that type of thing. And I know that's, if you're in media, you're probably like, dude, you got to fucking do something, man. Bree Newsom Bass, she climbed the telephone pole of the South Carolina Capitol building and took down the Confederate flag. Now, that's dope as shit, and she wasn't even doing it to fucking get publicity, but she did. She was just fired up, and now she's got a huge Twitter following, but she spits fire every fucking day. She's just on fire. I have, if you go to the blog, I actually have a link. I haven't published yet, but I have a link that's just her tweets, because she's just on point all the time, and she is just fighting the establishment on issues such as race and class warfare. So again, kudos to her for getting that platform. But this is an opportunity. This is what's frustrating, is you have folks on that are basing their whole kind of belief system in these false truths that kind of coincide with what they want to be true, and then they're using it to launch themselves into the ether, so to put their voice out there. And now they have a following, and now they're a voice, and now that's a voice that's essentially built on lies, that now has, is taking up some of that capital that we're trying to do of helping change minds and hearts. And so those are the things that I got from the article. Just kind of off the top. Again, I know it's kind of a nuanced position, but I'm okay with what he did. He wants to harass the governor in a public place. That's fine. Don't disrupt anybody else. Don't be disruptive and waste the entire night of the governor. Certainly, it's reasonable to walk up to his table and voice your opinion, or say, hey, look, I didn't vote for you, and here's why, or something to that effect. When you take it across the line and then you start poking, at his wife, and you start making racial slurs, it's fucking stupid. And then you have the audacity to kind of use this as a launching pad, and of course, it's going to work. Because really, that's what people like. I kind of go back to an example, which I also am a fan of, is the documentary called Hail Satan, which talks about the Satanic Temple, which, if you're a Christian right now, you're probably triggered as fuck. But if you watch the video on Hulu, these guys were doing it to their trolls. They're essentially saying, look, motherfuckers, we're all about separation of church and state. And so this is the way we're doing it. Of course, Satanic Temple really fucking strikes fear in a lot of people that kind of have this image of Satan and God and their whole religious, kind of all the religious, I don't want to say fantasy, all the religious icons, symbology that goes along with it. So, that was, but now they're launched into the strat, and now they have a voice, and they're actually doing a lot of political things to try to help maintain the secularization of the U.S. government and kind of how the government interacts with its communities, as opposed to what a lot of folks would like, and that's kind of this blending of God and our government, which I've even seen some of my Facebook friends say, I'm a Christian and I'm a patriot. And it's like, what the fuck do those two things have to do with each other? I'm a patriot. I don't have to be a fucking Christian. I can literally worship fucking Satan and be the biggest fucking patriot and biggest supporter of American values, even more realistically a supporter of American values, especially when I'm fighting against that integration of, I mean, just like you wouldn't want, and that's the whole point of the Satanic Temple, by the way. They essentially, there was the controversy that they kind of launched themselves around were the 10 Commandments being posted on government property. And they were like, look, we want our Baal, we want our fucking demon child posted there too. And so they made this really offensive. It would be offensive to Christians, possibly, or even maybe parents, but they made this kind of demonic looking goat with children standing beside it. They said, if you're going to have the 10 Commandments, you have to have ours up right beside it. And you know what? They have a valid point. You may not like it, but we're not a Christian nation. No matter what your fucking pastor or whatever the fuck your parents or you're telling yourself, that is absolutely far from the truth. And so, in the treaty, there's something, what's the Treaty of Trinidad or something like that people kind of call out to say, look, we're a Christian nation because it's not even a fucking founding document. But anyway, so again, I wanted to talk about this article for a couple reasons, because again, it requires some nuance. And it's not probably, the immediate take is just, hey, they're idiots. Yes, they're idiots not because of what they did. It's also the thing they did in this article was he threatened him, and they said they mentioned they were going to hang him. You know what they do in China? They hang them. And so that was a threat of violence. So had there been no threat of violence, had there been no racial slurs, there'd really be no reason for me to object to it other than, okay, even with the lies that he's spouting, I wouldn't have I wouldn't even be talking about it. Most likely, it might not even made the news. But because of those racial slurs and because of the threat of violence, it's become inappropriate. And so you're going to have folks like that ruin, a way to publicly shame our officials, and it's going to make officials be less accessible because they're going to feel threatened, and they have the power to create kind of a barrier around themselves. We want them to feel safe. We want them to not feel harmed. We don't want to hammer their family. We don't even need to involve their family. But it's okay to call them out. But as soon as you cross that line into violence or threats of violence and you start using derogatory terms, then you're just, it doesn't matter if you're fighting for Medicare for all, which is one of my one of my key issues that I like to talk about. You've failed. And so that's what I want to talk about, because on this show, I've often said we need a Republican Party that is reasonable, believes in truth. They can have their different processes. They can have their different ideas of what they believe is good for America. But I believe that they, too, hopefully, still, actually, in my fantasy world, we have a good Republican Party. They would also hold these kind of beliefs that we can improve ourselves and have a vision for what America looks like and be able to articulate that. We don't have that right now. And so what we have is we have people that are clinging to conspiracy theories, that are clinging to kind of whatever truth they can find. They're not happy about gas prices, not happy about energy prices, so it's all Joe Biden's fault. So they're out there seeking things that are going to validate their strongly held opinions, no matter whether they're misinformed or not. And that's a lot to do with the fact that the Republican Party doesn't have an agenda. It's floating freely. It's just anti-liberal. That's it. It's anti-whatever the Democrats. I watch my friends' feeds who are conservatives, and they really have nothing to say but how shitty Joe is. There's no articulation for what they believe should be the right thing. When Trump was in office, there was no, hey, by the way, what the fuck happened to repeal and replace? What the fuck happened to that? That was like a whole thing where they launched a whole, countermeasure campaign to get elected, and they just did nothing. But that's gone to the wind. Now it's just whatever Democrats do is stupid. Whatever Joe Biden does is stupid. And so, it brings me back to my kind of a point that I made several, broadcasts ago, which is we can't work on building the country better with folks that are lost in this quagmire shit. And that's why I say I don't believe in bipartisanship right now. I believe that the Democrats have a vision for America. I approve of it. Fucking get that shit done. There is no vision on the other side. You've got people running around crazy, threatening people, threatening people with violence. It always goes to violence because they can't articulate any kind of ideas or concept. And so you have this kind of one party. Look, the Democrats are far from fucking perfect. Get over yourself. But I will say, like, they're not. I mean, you can easily Google what the Democratic platform should be. Now you have your Joe Manchins who are, oddly voting for, against women's reproductive rights, and that's because he's really, as I said in my blog, look, if you want to fucking see why I'm always standing on I Told You So Mountain, you have to go read my blog, and you may not be able to. You might have to subscribe, and you're gonna have to. You can actually get a lot of the content for free, but some of that good juicy stuff you have to pay for. But I'm telling you, I'm not a prophet. I'm just fucking writing it as I see it, and I've made this call several times that this is kind of what's going to happen because we don't. There's a void in the Republican Party. There's no there, and so you have people just kind of look. I'm part of the team. Well, what do we stand for? We're just against Democrats, and that's it. And so because we don't have a platform, when we're frustrated, we're going to threaten violence. We're going to use racial slurs. We're going to resort to kind of Neanderthalic, Neanderthal-esque, kind of dialogue as opposed to actually kind of coming in with some intelligentsia or academia, as Ben Shapiro likes to say. I'm part of the conservative intelligentsia. The motherfucker hasn't put out a fucking idea yet. Neither has Candace Owens, for Christ's sake. These are the future thinkers. I mean, and that's why it's frustrating for me, because I believe that if we had two parties that were at least both based in truth and both were able to articulate a vision, you'd have less of this bullshit. You'd have less polarization. I mean, how the fuck is it possible that we have, like a portion of this country, including political leaders, rooting for Vladimir Putin? The fuck is that? Tucker Carlson rooting for Vladimir Putin. You've got people. You actually had somebody in my inbox, as I said in my other broadcast, saying, I'm a fan of Putin, and they acted as if they had some inside information that I didn't on Vladimir Putin and why I should be a supporter. I mean, it's fucking bonkers. That doesn't even take into account the fact that we have the social media platform where people can be manipulated just like knobs being turned. And so without good leadership, without a good political party to follow with a vision for America, you're going to have fucking chaos. You're going to have the racists kind of outstanding, coming out proud. What is it? Marjorie Greene Taylor, kind of ending up advocating for white supremacy with attending a white supremacist event and kind of acting as if it's no big deal. And that's because that's a vision. At least white supremacists have a vision for America, which, because there's no vision, it's attractive. And unfortunately, what you do have is you have a lot of folks that don't have the time or capability to critical think. They rely on their leadership. And since leadership in the Republican Party has absolutely failed, just look at their Twitter. There is nothing. They're not saying anything for what they believe in America. They're just saying, oh, he made a mistake. Oh, he made a mistake. And then when they get in the power, it's like all the hookers and blow come out. You know what I mean? It's like, woo! Mommy went away, and so now we're in charge, and so now we're just going to fuck it up. But as soon as they're not in charge, then they're going to point the finger and be little snitches, and that's what it seems to me. So, look, I went kind of all over the place, but the main point I wanted to make was that there's some nuance here, and I wanted to be clear about that. That I'm pro public, harassment of our officials without any threat of violence, without any disruption. Unless you're making a protest, of course. But if you're just out and about and you see a public official and you want to have some words, I don't think that's such a bad idea. But you can't make it threatening. You also can't come after their family, and you have to do it with some intelligence, because if that thing does go viral and your buddy's over there filming, you don't want to look like a putz. And this guy looks like a total putz. But again, it's because of that lack of the inability for the Republican Party to articulate a vision. He's now got a platform where he's probably gonna have 10,000 followers overnight, because people are like, yeah, good, you got him. I know I don't agree with the racist stuff, but I agree with everything else. And that's another thing. We're gonna have to talk a whole fucking lot about that, where people are like, I'm not a racist, but I agree with. Fuck you, fuck off. Come on, stop. All right. Anyway, so let me just kind of sum up. I wanted to be short and sweet tonight, but I want to sum it up, and that is, if you see your public official out, be respectful, but also let them know how you feel. don't cause a ruckus, especially if it's not a formal protest. And when I say formal protest, there really is no such thing. But unless you're kind of, it's a coordinated effort to kind of block them from having food or something like that. And there may warrant a time for that. But I truly believe that we can do this non-violently. You can also do it without kind of bringing into the heritage of his wife and doing all the crazy other shit. The other point is that I also believe that you need to be based in truth. And unfortunately, this gentleman happened to be a conspiracy theorist. And so everything he was saying was poppycock. But, so he did all that stuff. And really, to people that pay attention, he looks like an idiot. But people are going to cling to that shit. And I think that's why it's going to be a longer, slower haul for me, because I just refuse to kind of go down that route. I can get fucking spicy and make funny dick jokes and all that shit, but which is funny to some people and offensive to others. But I think the bottom line is that I just can't find it in myself to just kind of act like a complete buffoon. The same gentleman that sent me this article also stated, like, you know what, dude, you should just kind of go undercover as a conservative. You'd make a killing. And he's probably right. I just couldn't fucking do it. I couldn't lie to myself and kind of say those words. I couldn't pull Stephen Colbert. I'm not that funny in any way. But but there is a market. There's a huge market in the conservative side for somebody that, a person of color that can articulate things, and that would kind of help them move their cause. I just couldn't fucking do it. So anyway, it sounded kind of narcissistic, but my point is that I do truly believe, and maybe this is narcissism, maybe it's not, but I truly believe that this will be something that I'm proud of, and I believe that I can get my voice in the ring, and I'm gonna. So that's why I talk like that, and it's not because I think that I'm all that in a bag of chips. I've got fucking maybe one person, two people watching right now. So I realize kind of the long road I have to hoe, but I'm ready to hoe it. So anyway, listen, we're going to end with that. I do want to say a couple things. First of all, again, the subscriptions came in. It was nice. It's definitely not enough to keep me, kind of sustain me, but it's great. So everyone that kind of threw in, has been supporting me. I fucking love it. It's just amazing to me. Even when I look at my revenue per month, I don't want to say it because you'll be like, oh my God, dude. But, look, it's money that's coming in that says somebody, if it's $150, which is about what it is, if it's $150, and people are saying, look, these are people that, some of them are friends. There's a couple people I don't even know, which is amazing. But I think it's pretty awesome, and it just keeps me going. It's awesome to see that I have that support. I love the fact, in fact, I got a picture today in my inbox of somebody wearing a shirt. And, oftentimes I got a buddy online that Tommy, he's a friend of my wife's, and he's always posting kind of mugs and stuff that he bought. And it's just really feels good. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. And at least people kind of see the vision that I'm trying to paint. I know oftentimes I'm not crystal clear at articulating what my vision is, as best as I can, because it also changes. But I think ultimately you understand that I'm trying to get out there into the ether so that I can change hearts and minds. And the only way to do that is to kind of get more audience, get more reach. And so it's just amazing to have the support of everybody. I really love it, and I appreciate it. I'm humbled. I'm really humbled by it. And sometimes I get on here there are times where I'm frustrated because I'm like, man, I'm just not. I watch Stephen Colbert, and if I could have, not Stephen Colbert, I watch John Oliver, and I'm like, that's fucking what I want, but I don't have that team of writers. But I can do something that's similar. I can get pretty close without the high quality writing and everything else. But sometimes I'm like, man, I'm just not there. I wish they could see where I want to go. But I will tell you, the vision for what I have for this show is something that's going to be. That's something that you can watch and be entertained and also learn. And so I think it will evolve, and I'm happy to make it evolve. And like I said, I've got a morning show coming up, and I've also got the after hours stuff that I'm talking about. So thanks for the support. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying this journey of learning how to talk, and talk about issues, as well as kind of how to make myself appear better and more authoritative on camera. All that stuff's important when you're kind of doing this, because if you want to change hearts and minds, you got to get people believing in what you're believing. So I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, if I, at some point I have to do a shout out, but I know my little nephew Andrew had been one of the first callers. He's awesome. John, you're supportive. I've got Jess, I've got Lisa, I've got all bunch of. I'm just not going to go through everyone's name. Michelle, Sarah, Tom. There's a bunch of people that have just kind of been in my Matt online. He does. I don't know if he watches my show, but he's always kind of pushing my posts and kind of giving me that support, that digital validation. So I only named like 10 people. There's more than that, but and so if your name didn't get called, I apologize. But those just came to mind as people that are kind of interacting with my posts and also kind of being in my inbox with support. Jenna, you've been awesome as well. I think you were one of the first people that bought stickers. So anyway, I at some point I'd like to kind of go through and say all the people. In fact, when I have before I hit critical mass, I'll have to do kind of some smashing the party for everybody to come to or online party where we celebrate. But I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to be short tonight. I'm off for a week, okay? And now this next week, I hope that, this last time I brought you a fancy camera. I made my camera better. Things are looking a little better. I have my green screen in the back, just doing whatever the fuck I'm doing. I was sitting back in the back for a little while trying that out. I like that. But I hope that the next time I will have another layer of fun, another layer that will help separate me from the pack. I've been on TikTok. I haven't posted any TikTok videos yet, but I'm just absorbing TikTok, and TikTok is like a crack pipe. It's just like, you just can't get off it. And you think you're like done and you're just like, keep scrolling. So it's been a little distracting, but I'm absorbing that new medium and trying to figure how I'm going to kind of trim the content that I have into bite-sized chunks that people will kind of realize kind of where I'm going with it, and also kind of do the whole change hearts and minds on there. And it's a whole different format. I really, if I were to just be able to have a genie that gave me everything I wanted, I would say, give me the 3-hour shift that Rush Limbaugh had, and let me fucking go there and just let me rant and rave and talk. But things are changing, and that medium's no longer kind of, super valuable. There's a market for it because he did it for a long time, but things are changing, and I need to evolve with it. And so I'm kind of getting my head wrapped around this whole new medium. I guess it makes me sound old, but and I'm going to be able to do it. It's just I just need to make sure that it's still on brand, if you will. And I don't want to just be kind of memifying complex things. I like nuance, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to have it be a talking show with me, because I can kind of go through the elements of the nuance of whatever I'm talking about to help people understand things. And I like things that are on the edge. I like things that make people kind of go, well, and I like kind of breaking into those and kind of breaking those apart. So anyway, that's my thought process, but I'm off for a week. I'm going to be doing more stuff. I'm going to be doing kind of more kind of manipulation with how the look and feel of it is. And, I even have a teleprompter now. So, there might be some scripted stuff coming in. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet, but, I've got everything going where I'm going to have my own little studio and my own little John Oliver, the Black John Oliver. But that's kind of where I'm headed, and that's where I'd like to see it go. But I've also got to kind of continue to maintain putting out content, and also figuring out ways that I can find interesting things to talk about instead of just being along with everything else. It's easy to talk about the war right now, and I say easy just because there's a lot of content about, and that's what everyone else is talking about. And so I've chosen to just make my piece on that and talk about the things I thought were interesting, which were the black separation, the way black people were treated on the border. And so but I don't want you to think that the war is important. And I understand what the consequences of what's going on over there, but it's just kind of, I prefer to focus on the domestic issues. I also prefer to focus on things that I think touch you and me. The war touches us, but again, it's through the mediums that we're getting at. If you didn't have TV, you wouldn't know it, but you'd still know that the groceries would be high and the gas prices are high, and you'd still know that you can't get health care and all that stuff. So anyway, enough. I've rambled on long enough. I've made my half hour. I didn't think I'd go a half hour, but of course I always say that and I go longer. Thanks to everybody. I mean, seriously, if you're not a supporter, you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the blog, smashingtheparty.com. and it's free to subscribe. You can buy me a beer if you want, but you can also subscribe for free, and you'll get a lot of content. I've tried to put out 2 articles a week. I've been pretty good about it. I might have missed a week or 2, but I'll probably have a week where I do 4 or 5 to make it up. So at the end of the year, I want to have that ratio of having 2 per week. So it's about 100 and some articles. 104 articles will be that I'll be writing, and you'll get to watch my growth, but you'll also kind of see a lot of the behind the scenes for where I get my content and where I'm coming at from when I come on here. And so it'll help you get the bigger picture of where this is going. Because, you know, I oftentimes reference these blogs. I reference my YouTubes that I've done before and my broadcasts. So if you want to be part of the party, join the fucking party. Stop fucking around. Go subscribe. Go like it. Go share it. Make a comment. Tell me I'm a fuckhead. Go buy a shirt. Look how dope this red shit is. Look how dope it is. I know it's got dog hair on it, but fuck it. It's still dope. But listen, I'm going to cut out. I'll see you guys in a week. I'm sure you'll be seeing content online from me, and you might even see a couple TikToks between now and then. But enjoy your weekend. It's Friday. Be safe, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.